So, welcome, Alana. I'm so thrilled to get to talk to you today. Just wanting to really get to understand your journey and, hear a little bit more about what you're up to these days. You were part of the CIT class of 2013. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Seems
Yeah.
like a long time ago, but I guess it wasn't that far.
So tell us a little bit about, what you remember from your Leadership California CIT class, and kind of some of the things that you carried along with you, throughout the time after.
Yeah, well, the first thing I remembered is being so excited and getting accepted into the program. And I remember having lunch with a friend of mine who um, worked in the Capitol, and or actually, I think it was the Capitol. Someone that I had recently been introduced to, and I was like, you know what, you would be a really good. I just signed up for this program, and I think you would be a really good candidate. And she's like, I'm in that program too. So it was even wonderful. I was excited about this new opportunity. And then to know that there was someone who had recently made acquaintance who I thought was, a great leader in her own field and career. And we were in the same cohort. And then I just remember being introduced to the program by so many women that I admire, like Debbie Manning and Frederica McGee. So to follow in their footsteps, it was a very exciting opportunity. And then I remember every session that I went to, you sort of wind up sitting next to someone or noticing the questions that they ask, and you just really click. And so I have a few lifelong, I feel like friendships and professional connections. And I just remember looking forward to all of our meetings because so many powerful women that I probably never would have come in contact here in just Sacramento, women who are across the state. So very excited to get to meet them every single month and sit and talk and fellowship, and then now to look back on that and think, wow, that's how we met. And we're still really good friends today. So I just remember learning so much, connecting with women, um, and understanding and working through various challenges that we uniquely face, but looking at the trends in California and how we can really step up and resolve some of the issues the state's facing.
That's great. It's that network and the connection with women is something that everyone always comes back to, and it's so crucial and important in all of our journeys.
Right.
I think.
Absolutely.
So, talk to me a little bit about your background, and what you've accomplished is incredible, and just tell me a little bit about your leadership journey and where you've gone throughout the years.
Well, it's very interesting because I'm the first one in my family to go to college. And I think I started my journey just being content with, graduating from college. And then I went on to law school. So it's like, oh, I've exceeded all expectations. And I started my career as a deputy DA. And I kind of just got in that little world, and thought that was it. That's what I needed to do. But a lot of things started to align where I could see I was more of a visionary, and I was always, the way that I approached things was more having a comprehensive view, and then sort of a higher level of not only the work that I was doing, but why that work needed to be done, which really led to more policy type questions, and a perspective. And so it was weird in what to do with that energy. And Leadership California sort of broaden my horizons to say, oh, this is something that you could do. It's very interesting because I enjoyed the program so much. I started volunteering, so we were hosting these monthly discussions. I think it was with the Senate's Office of International Relations, and so I helped volunteer to set those up. But I actually enjoyed attending them as well. And during one of those sessions, I actually got a call, which was an interview for my appointee. And those things are very secretive. So you cannot let anyone know. And because we had such limited space for those international delegations, if you signed up for it, you better show up. And so I just remember after all of the program offered to kind of broaden my horizons, and then I just stepped out and I took advantage of that. So I went out on a limb and took a different career trajectory, leaving the DA's office, going to the California Energy Commission as a staff attorney, and then applying for an appointment literally within a few months of arriving. So a brand new industry, a brand new agency, but the skill set that the Leadership California program had given me let me know that my kind of intuitive, you know, perspective and looking at things and asking the policy questions and having that broader perspective was preparing and equipping me to become a leader. So I remember sneaking out of that delegation, going to my interview, and ultimately I did get an appointment from Governor Brown to be public advisor, and had experience driving organizational change. And that's the work of leadership. So we know the role of it, we know the challenges of it, but actually getting in and doing the work and applying that, I felt very grateful for Leadership California program. And then when I transitioned again, I went over to the legislature and became chief consultant of climate change, and that was a brand new committee. So again, just that leadership journey sometimes is building, and it's not just necessarily directing, but kind of building coalitions or a vision or a new project. And I was able to do that. And that requires seeing not only where an organization is, but where an organization needs to be. And so it was very easy to use that skill set in the events of everything that happened last summer, right? Because as a leader, you want to be responsive. You don't want to be in the little vacuum and say, okay, this is my policy area. But really seeing the unrest with Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd, and just how our criminal legal system was playing out. Everybody was in the pandemic and sitting at home and watching it play out on television. And so using those same leadership skills, I had sort of a vision of where at least this particular region needed to go from protests to policy to practice. And that was the impetus to start the Community Justice Collaborative and really direct that energy that a lot of people were feeling, whether it was uncertainty, ambivalence, frustration, anger. How could we harness that to have positive results? So one of the things was to create the Community Justice Collaborative. And then as a law professor, I also created a course called the Racial Justice and Equity Practicum. And that allows law students to partner and intern with these kind of frontline organizations to help them think through. So now we're working on things like alternatives to 911. And then what are the legal implications of that? Certainly we know what the social implications of that can be, but what are the legal, so that organizations who are really working on that have a very comprehensive approach. And we're working on housing issues. As we know throughout the state, homelessness is a priority issue. So we're looking at some of the other obstacles other than just physical structures that we need to deal with that. And then we have interns working with the NAACP and looking at court fines and fees, just some kind of practical barriers that need solutions for people who are trying to, re-enter society as productive citizens or are dealing with various challenges. So in addition to the Community Justice Collaborative, which does free legal clinics every month, for the summer, we're focusing on these 3 projects. And that's all a part of being a leader, right? It's not necessarily having a title, but it's doing the work that brings us to the right direction we need to be going in.
Wow. I love it. That is so it's so amazing. And I think criminal justice reform is so needed. And we've been talking about it for years. And I think that, really organizations like the collaborative are so important to actually get the work done, which is just what you're talking about. Because we can talk around a table about it for years and really just need people to do the work. So that's amazing, really, really amazing. So you're a doer. And, I can just tell from all of these amazing things. And you talk about that, like, visionary piece and, really leading it. And you said something from, from the problem to policy to practice. And I just think that is so cool. Can you talk a little bit more about your leadership style and how you lead organizations, how you lead teams? What do you think are some of the most important traits of a significant leader?
Yeah, so my style has definitely developed. I mean, I went from being a deputy DA where, I had a caseload and I ordered my investigation and, I interviewed my witnesses, to going to state government where the collaborative process and getting buy-in from all stakeholders is very crucial. And I am a doer. I'm very results oriented. My strengths and my strength finder is activator. And so I had to adjust and learn. So my leadership style has evolved to being one where I'm not a leader who likes to make, come in and I make all the decisions and that's the way it's going to be. But really working with everyone to get buy-in and learning the strengths of your team so you know how to leverage that. So I think some of the stronger characteristics of a leader is the ability to see that, to see where your team is, what are their strengths, and to use that. And being in government and working with public, a lot of times people see the public, especially when they're critical, as a challenge or a barrier. But I feel that a great leader knows how to use that energy. It's like a great collaborative dance, right? So they can push and you just lean into that. You don't have to push against it, but you just kind of lean in and you use that energy. And that's what we tried to accomplish, with the protest and developing a course. It wasn't to be judgmental about what anyone's lived experiences are and how strongly they feel, but recognizing, well, how can we all go in the same direction with that? And so whether that's something broader with social issues or looking at a team, so that no one feels like, well, maybe I shouldn't say anything, or maybe this is not, this is a stupid question. And it's so important for women because we know that, we don't always lean in. We're not always sitting at the table, and we have to do things like amplify what another woman has said or encourage. And so I very much have a mentorship style of leadership, but also one in which it's very collaborative. And I like to get participation from everyone. And sometimes that is just the role of individuals, is to give feedback that might be constructive. So that's different from the naysayers and those who try to sabotage efforts. And you can discern the difference, but that's why being in public, sometimes when people are, when I was at the Energy Commission, we would have public meetings, and a couple of times people want to be disruptive or critical. And a lot of other folks thought a great meeting means one where everyone's happy and no one's critical. But it's like, no, that's not how we get better. That's not, we miss the blind spots if we don't have that. So having a leadership style that embraces that embraces failure sometimes too, because you can learn and grow from that. And so those are some key characteristics that I like to involve and be very collaborative, but also like to try to use and leverage as much different ideas and perspectives as possible.
I love that. And I always think with, politics, especially, no one should be 100% happy. We should all walk away with, feeling good about where we're going.
Yeah.
But knowing that if everyone is happy, we're probably doing something wrong. So
Right.
that's great.
And I think that's just a certain, I want to punctuate that point because I think if we're going to use any group as a gauge of how well we're doing, it should be the most marginalized group. When you are working towards something and the least protected or the most vulnerable, when they are happy, that's actually like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Because usually, a rising tide floats all boats. And so if you have taken care of the needs of the most marginalized, you probably have a good, equitable, and an inclusive issue or response solution heading forward.
Yeah, that's so true. I love that. So while we are not a political organization and can't, comment on political campaigns, I do really want to hear a little bit more about, what is the impetus behind you running for DA and, just kind of what your goals are in hopes of being elected to that position.
Sure. I think I'm happy to share because along my journey, I would have thought, either CEO, senior vice president, executive director is what leadership meant to me. But leadership can have a different call. And for me, it was the fact that I had previously served as a deputy DA. So I tried 50 jury trials. So I knew that I was qualified in that sense. But then there needed to be, someone with a certain level of commitment to equity and fairness, and a certain amount of courage to achieve justice when it doesn't look like what the traditional forms of justice or law and order, but looking at more modern data-driven solutions. And it did take me some time to see that that's a form of leadership that I'm called to answer. But once I realized that, it was pretty easy. And so looking at, the qualifications that I have, and I think the commitment and courage to do things different, because we all know change is hard for others, but you have to, when you have a certain amount of conviction, like that this is the direction we need to go in. It's difficult for others, but you kind of see it and you can just go with it. So a couple of, conversations with myself and then family led me to the decision, but mostly seeing what was playing out. And I think when people don't know what the solution is, they cling tighter to the past and how we've always done it. And I felt like my region just needed someone who could say, no, there is a better way. We can do that. And so every day it's a new adventure on the leadership journey, with really trying to understand what's needed. And in a position like this, you're leading a lot of different people. We know our country is very divided, and so is Sacramento County. And so there has to be a different type of leadership and understanding that the role probably has been traditionally defined by someone who has had a number of cases or trials or, big headline trials. But that's not what the position needs now. You really need someone who can bridge the divide between all of the different divides that we have in our community, but also someone who can serve everyone. And in political positions, sometimes that's voters or donors. But this is a nonpartisan position and it's a leadership position where you have to lead. And so that means you're working on behalf of people who may not be voting, who may not even know who the DA is or what their role is. But it's a calling to make the community safe for everybody, more fair for everyone, and more just for everyone. And Leadership California just equipped me to stand up and answer the call. So I'm going to rise to the occasion and feel very equipped by the network and skill sets that I've learned from the program.
Oh, that's awesome. So just to close out, I guess, if you were having that lunch again in the Capitol with a friend and saying, I just joined this program, what would be your words to someone who is thinking about joining the CIT program or, thinking about Leadership California?
You can't find the words or see the benefits and the impact that the program will have. I've served on a commission for the governor regarding judicial nominees, and I've run into a Leadership California sister there. Even my current campaign, one of my first fundraisers was a sister from Leadership California. Working in the Capitol, just it's so many different ways, going to public hearings at another agency with the CPUC and running into one of my Leadership California sisters. And it's so helpful, especially if you are in a field where there are not a lot of women. So the benefits and the rewards, it's not only for your personal and professional career, but it's really a program that reaps benefits for the changes that you can be a part of that affect the entire state. And I would never have predicted that. Never have predicted it in so many spaces where I found myself. I would be working alongside one of my Leadership California sisters to create greater change for our state.
Yay. I love that. And I'm so grateful to you and just to hear your story and more of what you're doing. I mean, you are an incredible woman, and I'm so very much looking forward to, seeing what's next for you, and very, very excited about your next steps on your journey. So we just really appreciate you taking time to, share your story and your perspective. And so we can, really highlight you as such a significant alumni and, share with others what you're doing and, if we continue to hear from other alum who are doing similar things and really stepping up to create that change for the state. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I just really appreciate your time and your energy and really just appreciate what you're doing for the state. These things are so important and criminal justice reform is so important, and it's really amazing. So,
and thank you for the work that you all are doing as well. And I know it's not easy, and getting all the schedules and getting everyone together. I know I was probably one of the ones that needed a little bit of nudging sometimes.
No, you were like the easiest.
But thank you for the work in organizing and just keeping this program running, because it's so important and it's such a a benefit and just such a boost, like an inspiration, and just sort of, um, what a lot of women who are in leadership need just to get that extra refill. So thank you for the important work that you're doing.